Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I'm just hanging out. I've got a little time and I wanted to go live. Now, I've got a difficult subject to talk about. This is not something we, MGTOW, usually talk about, but it is a critically important subject for all men, right? And of course, I'm talking about men's sexual health. Now, some of you guys might be listening to this and being like, yeah, Howard, we're MGTOW, so we don't care. But look, MGTOW doesn't mean that men are celibate, okay? It means that they're aware, of the dangers that women represent, but it doesn't mean that they completely shun women, okay? If you can find the right kind of woman and you want to, look, that's your call, right? Let me tell you something, and it's important, all right? Especially to MGTOW. The strongest drive within all of life, from the single cellular to the multicellular complex beings, as complex as you, as complex as me. The number one drive, you want to guess? It's survival. It is simply staying alive. That's it. There's no stronger drive, all the way down to the single cellular, all the way up to, the complex human being. To stay alive, to survive. Now, you think, well, it seems like we have feelings, right? We certainly have senses, hot, cold, warm, hungry, happy, sad, all of these things. But all of these things, all of these inputs, thousands of inputs for you, okay? You've got a section in your brain, the name slips my mind right now, but it evaluates everything around you. The physical space, the social cues, the emotional situation. You are evaluating everything around you, all of it, okay? And I'm trying to think of the name. And then you respond, okay? Like how to act. What's the appropriate way to act? Charismatic Fiend, thanks for stopping by, bro. Yeah, just your name alone has given me some great insights, as to the situation that's going on here. Because as I've said to you before, it's kind of like there is this fiend within me. I think within all of us, it's egotistical. It's, it wants what it wants. It gets its feelings hurt. And almost all the interaction that we're doing is about appeasing this internal fiend within us that just wants what it wants. And I'm kind of talking about that because these are the inputs. We just want what we want. We're hot, we're cold. And we move towards the things that sustain our life. So if we're feeling good and it feels healthy, we're going to keep going in that direction. If it's painful and it feels bad, we're going to turn away from that situation. This is survival instinct, okay? Now, talking about men's sexual health. We've been screwed over. There's a lot of things going wrong right now. There's even a danger within the MGTOW mindset. As I said, this idea that MGTOW have no sexual drive. That's absurd, okay? Please do not do that to yourself. Creation, the universe, God, call it what you will, has given you, as a man, a set of tools to show you, to indicate to you whether or not your health is there, whether or not you feel good, whether or not you feel optimistic, whether or not you feel hopeful about the future, whether or not you feel you have the energy to do the things in life that you need to do in order to have a good life. Okay? Now, that's male sexual health is what that is. I'm not kidding. That's the pituitary gland communicating throughout your entire body, mostly to the testes, to your balls, and telling you to produce testosterone, which in turn is going to help you with your protein synthesis. It's going to help you with your mood. It's going to help you with your attitude. Okay. You want to turn your back on that? You want to say, oh, that doesn't matter to me? Bullshit. This is fundamental to any man's well-being. I want you guys strong. I want you confident. I want you to be capable. I want you to feel good about your life. You know why I want that for you? Because that's what I want for me. That's what I want for all good men. So what the hell is going on? You know, the men are losing motivation. Look, the problem is not a lack of resources. The problem is not that we're not smart enough and we don't know what to do. The problem is that people lack the motivation, the agency, the energy, the commitment within their own lives to do the things that will lead to them having a better life. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's an accident? Do you think that it's this rare occurrence that's only happening to a few of the men out there? Bullshit. It's happening to the majority of the men out there. Their spirit, their will, their hope for the future is being crushed. And you know, we speak about it here in MGTOW. Hypergamy, the disposability of the man. And even now, see, you know these things. Biologically, you know these things, and you're even okay with these things. But now we're going to toss on top of that the hatred, the contempt, the belittling, the trying to tear the rug from underneath the men, okay, and the young men. What the hell do you think this does to a man's drive, to his motivation, to his outlook on life? Okay, so they're not just sitting out there upset. They're not just sitting out there where they're not actualizing their lives. They're sitting out there and they're dying. Their health is going down the tubes. You know, I've had some good friends here in MGTOW, okay? I remember my friend Benson MGTOW. What a nice guy. What a friendly guy. What a generous man, okay? There's a question. Is being a nice guy killing you? All right? When you swallow your pride and when you say, oh, no, that doesn't bother me. Oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. Oh, no, that's just the way things are. What's happening inside? A part of us is dying. A part of us, the part of us that we know is right and strong. Let me tell you a little bit something about myself, okay? Do you know why I use the image, the cartoon one-dimensional image of the man that I use? Because I don't want there to be any mistake about the strength, the prominence of male strength. This is my message. This is the image, okay? You are a strong, independent man. Everything else is bullshit. None of it else matters, okay? This is your health. This is your survival. This is your strength. This is your hope for the future. Can you go forward into the future without any hope? Yeah, you can. But for how long? And what kind of motivation will you maintain? Okay? So let's talk about men's sexual health. Or rather, let me give you an experiment, okay? Your MGTOW. The idea of long-term relationships to you is bullshit. The idea of being in temporary relationships with women, for the most part, is bullshit. If you could find the right ones who acted the right way, treated you decently, kind of, carried their load, that would be fine. That would be okay. Not a problem there. Like, we're not women haters, okay? But we are haters of what women have become and the attitudes that they have adopted. What I'm saying is that this attitude, this gynocentric feminized, we're all feminists, we're not, attitude is literally destroying your health and literally destroying your ability to survive and literally destroying the quality of your life. Is that important to you? Huh? I think it is. Okay. Now, in that setting, right? Here's a man. He's trying to do the right things. He's working out. He's eating right. But in his heart, in his mind, he's upset. Okay? He's pissed off. So what I'm saying is you can do everything right about your health and your, masculinity and keeping a good attitude, because being a man is hard. It's not just like you're born that way. It's going to take some sacrifice, some hard work, discipline, things like that. What the hell was my point? Charismatic Fiend says, we are loaded with parasites. They are little demons. Indeed, in many, many ways, right? Not just culturally and socially, but biologically. And that, of course, is what I'm getting towards, the biological attack on men. Look, there's a war going on here, a silent war, and good men are being destroyed, and good men are giving up on the entire situation. And it is a silent war that is waged inside of your own body, okay? At this stage, once it's been internalized, and it has been internalized, if not by you, then by most men, okay? It's not even an attack by the government or political bodies, although they're doing it. It's not even an attack by women directly, okay? But once it's internalized, it is now our own biology reacting to the world around us, okay? So the man has to adopt a MGTOW attitude. Otherwise, he's chasing thirsty after the women, making a fool of himself, being played like a fool, made into a puppet, such that when she destroys him and falsely accuses him and takes all of his resources, the only thing he gets to do is look in the mirror and say, yeah, but she was really pretty. So that's it. Okay? Don't be acting like that isn't what's driving most of the men in our culture, in our society, okay? Now, if you could really be this totally detached MGTOW and still maintain your health and your well-being, more power to you, okay? Please make some content, okay? I would like to hear this stuff, okay? But for me, this is a fight. This is a drive. This is an unfair situation, and it's making me sick, and I don't like it, okay? So you can feel this. It is a slow drain of energy. It is a slow sapping away of any motivation, okay? Focus, drive, desire. These things are linked to the man's sexual health. The man wakes up and he just doesn't have the fire that he once had. It's gone. He's tired, he's unmotivated, he's disconnected from the things that once made him feel alive. And most men, they don't even know why. They're just like, this is the way life is. The truth is, this is not just mental. This is not just like you can decide to look at it differently. It is hormonal. Our hormones are under attack. And this all begins with one tiny little organ in the brain, the pituitary gland. This is the master switch. And what's turning it off? What's shutting it down and killing the men? What do you think it is? It's stress. It's a broken heart. It's a broken spirit. It's being stuck in the wrong types of relationships. And all of our relationships with women are the wrong types of relationships. Could you therefore just cancel them out and not engage in them? Well, not really. Not unless you could, move into a cave someplace. So you're still interacting with women. Could you shut down your desire? Could you say to yourself, here's a healthy, viable, fertile woman, and she's smiling at me, but I feel nothing. Can you do that? Do you want to do that? Do you think it would be healthy for you to do that? I don't think it would. Now, should you start chasing after her and jumping through hoops and making a fool of yourself? Absolutely not. But this is what the men do because they are so damn thirsty, because they have been deprived and neglected of any sort of human affection and decency. But the stress, the hurtfulness, yes, the emotional impact of this is causing a horrible amount of stress inside of the man. You cannot turn off your desire to survive and to prosper, nor should you. But you're in an environment, for the most part, talking socially, culturally, that is attacking you as a man, that is belittling the very substance and nature of what you are. Do you start to see why I'm putting up a one-dimensional cartoon character as an example of my avatar? I don't want there to be any mistake, you know? I know people like complexity, right? Lots of subtlety and variation and stuff like that. And there's a time and a place for all of that. But then there's another time and place where, no, I don't need it. I want a strong man standing up and telling the fucking truth, not equivocating, not hemming and hawing, not saying on the one hand this and on the one hand that. No. Men are being treated unfairly. They're being treated like garbage. Even when they do the right thing, it destroys their health. It destroys their motivation in moving forward. Now, I'm telling you that the most important, assuming you're taking care of the other things, your diet, your exercise, your sleep, the next most important wheel on this wagon is your stress levels, is your feelings, is you as a man managing your emotions eternally. Now, many men are saying to me, bullshit, I don't have any emotions. And I say to you, bullshit. You do feel what you feel. I don't care if you're Mike Tyson, right? If you're coming around a corner and somebody jumps out from around the corner and says, boo, you're going to jump. You're startled. If you've put on your best outfit and made yourself look your best and nobody compliments you, nobody looks at you, nobody says anything, that's hurtful. It hurts. And this is the pituitary gland, right? And this is, what is it called? It's certainly not the reticulating activating system. Some part behind the left part of the left ear in the brain. We just know where we are. Walking through doorways, walking through a minefield, coming into a bridal fitting in a bridal shop, right? One time I was walking around in a blizzard in Minnesota, and I hadn't realized how dangerous it was. Like you could get really messed up and lost, and you could die. So I'm walking around, and I realize I have to duck my way into any store that's nearby. I just got to get indoors. My eyes are freezing. My nose is freezing. My mouth is freezing. And I duck into a bridal shop, right? And they're doing a fitting. And they looked at me, it was like, holy ground, Highlander. So I wasn't allowed to hang out in that place. But in order for any man to get the pituitary gland back in shape, it needs honest emotional communication with yourself. Okay. You just got to be truthful with yourself. You got to take those few deep breaths. You got to relax. I don't care how bad the situation is. Does being all stressed out and angry about it help you? No, it doesn't. And you see, this pituitary gonad connection, it's got to be natural. It has to be healthy, maintained over time to do its thing and to build up the production of testosterone, as opposed to the production of cortisol. So, what I'm like, I'm pretty cool on the outside. I can get a little worked up verbally, but I maintain my cool, and I've got a fair amount of discipline. It's unlikely that I'm going to say or do something really stupid. But that's not what's really going on internally. Internally, I'm pretty pissed off. As a result, no matter how well I work out, no matter how well I take care of my diet, no matter how well I maintain my sleep, internally, I'm generating a ton of cortisol constantly. I believe this is intentional, right? This is an attack on men at the most basic fundamental level of what masculinity is. In other words, this basic function given to you by God, by creation, however you want to call it, okay, is under attack. It's considered toxic. So, I don't know, imagine you have a son and your wife says to you, I hate our child. I just don't like that male child of mine. I love the female child and I'm going to do right and be kind and supportive to the female child. But anytime I encounter the male child, I'm going to scowl. I'm not going to bring it food. I'm not going to put a blanket on it. I'm not going to soothe and coo to the child because it's masculine and men are bad. How would you feel about that? What would you say to your wife under those circumstances? You would say to her, that's not fair. You would say to her, that's not right. You would say to her, that's outright evil. You have an obligation to be decent to your child, to take care of him, even though it's a male, even though it's a boy. And you know that's true, and I'm sure that she would know that was true. You know, this is an imaginary situation. But is that what's happening in society? Is that what's happening in culture? Is that what's happening when you go to school, when you get into the office and somebody says, men are toxic, men are evil. All men should be castrated. No, it's not your son that it's, with a mother attacking it, but it is women attacking men. And the men stopped doing that shit way back in the mid-60s, early 60s, late 50s. Men started treating women fairly, and then women became entitled. And now they treat men unfairly. Look at Trump. Trump is a fine example of this. Strong man fixing the economy, bringing peace to the Middle East, and we're going to have the No Kings demonstration attacking him. So what the hell kind of message does that send to the men? What does that say? That says you can put money in my pocket. You can bring peace to the Middle East, but because you're a white man, I hate you, and I'll do anything to destroy you. That's the message that the men are living with, and that causes fundamental damage to the pituitary gland, the emotional stability. Okay, this isn't about just giving a man a bunch of testosterone. That might help a little bit, but it will knock him off balance. It's not natural. It's not healthy. It might have a positive effect, to a degree, but it would also have, a negative effect. So what we're talking about is reactivating your natural, healthy cycles. And one of the ways that you need to do that is to get that stress level down. And in a society where everybody hates you and your main biological drive is portrayed as a crime, that's almost impossible. So all of these great masculine qualities, the ability to compete, the ability to endure, the ability to demonstrate strength, the ability to help others, to provide, to protect, all of these qualities are shamed and abused and belittled in favor of these weak, pathetic, feminine qualities of capitulation, of never hurting anybody's feelings, of always getting along and always going along. And you can do that until your life is over and your physical health and your mental, emotional stability is destroyed. Or you could get back in touch with your natural masculinity. You can't do it if you're consuming all the media. You can't do it if you're watching the news because they're tearing you down and it's unfair and there's nothing you can do about it except largely isolate yourself from it. It's like a toxic relationship. How do you fix it? You get the hell out of it is what you do. The pituitary gland is the center, command center for your masculinity. It tells the gonads, the testes, to produce testosterone. And this is the hormone that gives you strength, drive, and confidence. Okay, you want to take sex out of the equation? Fine. Let's just look at your strength, your drive, and your confidence. Because when this system is working right, your body runs like a well-tuned machine. But when it's under attack from stress, from poor sleep, emotional chaos, that very engine begins to stall and backfire. Your brain has priorities. When it senses danger, even something unfair, like when the women are talking about toxic masculinity, yes, that's danger. Okay? When it senses this danger, it shuts down on the reproduction and ramps up the survival. So testosterone, dopamine, serotonin all go down. Cortisol, adrenaline, fight or flight all go up. What I'm saying to you is that the men are in a constant state of emotional abuse, which causes a constant state of fight or flight, which shuts down your pituitary gland, which tells your testes to make testosterone. So yeah, he's a really nice guy. Okay, he's willing to listen to anybody. Oh, but he's sick. He's broken. His drive is gone. His motivation is gone. His dream, his vision is gone. And it's been destroyed emotionally, culturally, socially. And the environment that he's in will not allow it to reconnect. Your body literally decides no time for love, no time for creation, survival. That's it. So this is the mode that the men are in. This is why you don't see any reproduction. This is why your population levels are down in the dirt. And the longer that this mode lasts, the more the pituitary gland just withers away. And that's why so many men today feel weak, anxious, sexually flatlined. Their biology has been hijacked by stress, by abuse, by neglect. Just like when I spoke to you about the mother not looking after her male child. Neglect. You know, sometimes, like, people, we live in a victim culture, right? So people are putting out all their trauma talk and all their victim status out there. Let me check my chat section, see if anybody's listening. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, here we are. Singletown Bachelor is here. Kick that like button, you bigots. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Yeah, I really do fundamentally appreciate the support. You know, I used to have a channel, 75,000 subscribers, moving towards 100,000 subscribers. A lot of content, you know, a lot of different things, but not a serious connection. I'm more interested now in a serious personal connection. I'm not here to be popular. I'm not here to make money. I could still open up my channel for YouTube partnership. AdSense, right? You get about 7 cents for every 1,000 times your commercial plays. It's not a lot, but it can add up. But I don't care. I'm not here. I'm not talking to you in order to sell you over to YouTube, over to a gynocentric feminized world so that they can propagandize you and I can make 7 cents on 1,000 of them. That's the world we live in. I say bullshit, okay? I don't need it. I don't want it. What I want is the connection with you so that I can speak the truth, okay? You want to be a nice guy? That's great. You do that. But you want to turn your back on your own masculine nature? Don't do it, okay? Yeah, sure, get a little angry, but don't be crazy. Don't let a kind of internal animal, a fiend within you, have free reign. Rein it in, my friend. Bring it down. Calm it down. And now your exercise, your diet, your sleep, your keeping away from toxic relationships and abusive relationships and neglectful situations where men are not appreciated, keeping away from those things, okay? If you can put this one last piece in place where you can manage your stress, where you can manage your internal state, we can create this connection again between the pituitary gland and the testes. And there's your testosterone, and there's your drive, and there's your ambition, and there's your hope, and there's your energy, and there's your dopamine. I don't care if you don't want a relationship with women, that's incidental, okay? No, this aspect of the male nature must be strong, must be healthy, must be pure. That's why I have the one-dimensional avatar up there. Let there be no mistake how I feel regarding masculine strength. I would not be able to tell the truth if I had advertisers, if I was trying to sell coffee here, okay? If I was trying to push my merchandise here, I would not be able to tell the truth. And the truth is that image of a strong, healthy, confident, energy-filled man is the closest thing that we have to God. You are in the image of God. And that's a strong, healthy man. That's a strong, healthy male, right? You got to even like the lions, right? You got to even like the lions and the gorilla, the silverback gorilla when it stands up and looks at somebody like, who the fuck are you? You got to like that. You got to recognize the strength, the health, the vitality, the motivation, the energy, the dopamine within that. You want to give that up? Don't you dare. Don't you dare turn your back on your own masculine nature. You take care of it. You build it. You make it strong. No, YouTube doesn't push the red pill. Look, we exist in a society where we supposedly believe in things like free speech, okay, and individual expression. Bullshit. Half of us shut that shit down, okay? I knew right from the start, all the way back like 2015, 2016, that YouTube itself, that YouTube's employees themselves were canceling any messages that they didn't agree with, okay? So, look, I don't get to do that. I don't get to go about in the world and say, this person likes Kamala Harris. I'm going to delete their video, or I'm going to say that this video is toxic and hate speech and needs to be shut down. That would be some cowardly, low-level bullshit. And that is what we've been dealing with. And that is what we've been acting like. It's like, oh yeah, this is okay, right? Now, straight back to the advertisers. I suppose that's okay too, right? No, it's not. I go to listen. I mentioned this morning. I go to listen to a video late at night. Like I just want to, lay down and fall asleep and, listen to a long, history of the Roman Empire. But as soon as I lay down, within 5 or 6 minutes, those commercials start kicking in. And those are some bullshit commercials too. Loud music, stupid, things, jingles to get your attention, shit like that. And YouTube doesn't just play one of them, they play 2 of them. And then they stop. But then 3-4 minutes later, boom, the cycle continues again. So it is impossible for somebody to actually listen to a conversation, to a dialogue on MGTOW without being hit by the most retarded, backstabbing, bullshit advertisements and cultural messages within a few minutes, and then just to be bombarded with it. Honestly, you listen to an hour-long video, I wonder how much of that time is occupied by advertisement from YouTube, because it seems like they're breaking out like 2 minutes every 6 or 8 minutes. So, there's your ratio. I won't have it. Even if I make money, I would rather make my money off of your support. That's what I'm interested in. Okay. That's the dynamic, the exchange that I'm interested in. Want to request a video, request a topic, help me out for the things I've done over the years, the things I've been through. Yeah, very interesting. when I got into a lot of trouble, this was a false accusation from a woman and thrown into jail for a year and a half, and then about 5.5, 6 years worth of criminal trials. That's a stressful situation. That'll really shut down, the pituitary gland, right? Yeah, you're sitting there taking care of your health on a good diet, exercising because you're in jail, you're in a lot of trouble. And at the same time, though, just angry and bitter inside, just consumed by it. Now, here's something interesting. Okay, competition itself, it promotes testosterone. You don't even have to win. If you're willing to compete and try it out and put your best effort out there, boom, testosterone kicks up. This is probably why guys in prison are so jacked, okay, because they're constantly competing. And yet they are actually, no, they're not totally stressed. No. This might help a few of you out there. Got 12 of you listening here. Thank you guys for stopping by. Jail is not as bad as you might imagine. The other inmates are not really the danger. Even the guards and things like that, not the danger that you imagine. The institution, the day by day breaking down, the killing of hope, the poisoning of the hopeful attitude, that a man can have. That's the danger. The concrete walls. You meet a lot of people in there too. You get exposed to a lot of different points of view. And I can't imagine that it wouldn't be enriching for almost anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, I met some really impressive people, and in some of the strangest situations, like I'm sitting there in an empty cell waiting to go into trial, and, I'm handcuffed to a bench. So I'm probably wearing full shackles. Nah, they took the shackles off once they put you in, the solitary room. But they bring in other people there who are also waiting to go into the courtrooms and things like that. And some of these people were just amazing, fascinating people. Priests, preachers, people who have been, in multiple wars, engineers, scientists, nuclear physicists. Indeed. And also, street level scumbag, that would cut you open and sell your blood for a honey bun. Yeah, there's that too. But for the majority, no, that's not the case. Usually the man has to be like crazy angry before, he gets to that place. And yeah, I knew a few of those too. Had some really horrible situations going on there. Yeah, I got in a few fights too. Oh, and I saw, a number of people, given correction. Okay. People get warnings. In other words, if a man is in a group of other men and he's being really loud early in the morning and late at night, and, he's getting too political, they won't just beat him up. They'll come to him and they'll say, hey, man, tone it down. Recognize where you are. Recognize what the situation is. Cut it out. We're warning you. Or not even the first time, it's not even like that. It's like, just be cool, man. Second time, it's like, look, this is a warning. You're pissing people off. You're acting out of line. Nobody likes it. We're going to get in trouble if you don't stop it. Meaning, the whites, the brothers, the Chicanos, the illegals. Our group is going to get in trouble with the other group if you don't cut it out. Person doesn't listen after that. That's a fucking green light. That's Al Banyo. That's, Torpedo brings you to the bathroom and says, look, you're going to take a few shots to the face. You could fight back if you want. It's probably going to make it worse, but we understand, if you need to fight back. But that's it. And if the person learns their fucking lesson, that is it. But if they don't learn their lesson, yeah, it gets worse. Or if somebody is a snitch, they don't get warnings, right? So not as bad as you might think. Problem is our society and our culture demonizes the male behavior. So wrong. After 40, sex drive decreases, says Alex PT 166. Absolutely, it does. but it doesn't completely die and go away. And I don't think that the men should have to like become celibate and shut that down, because I'm talking about the connection between the pituitary gland and the gonads, testes producing testosterone. And it's not just about, getting extra testosterone. It's about having that healthy balance, that healthy drive, so that the man can feel good about his life and about his future. We're in a trap, okay? This society, this gynocentric, feminized society, it's a stress trap for men. This isn't the kind of stress that ends after a battle. One of the curses of being so intelligent as human beings are, indeed, we really are, is that we don't forget. And so we get stressed. Look, an animal is out there on the prairie, on the safari, and suddenly a lion takes off after it. And 10 of them take off. And one of them doesn't make it. But the other 9, they're okay. Whew, they are stressed out, right? No doubt about it. You can see the heavy breathing. You can see their kind of nervousness and their behavior and everything like that. But after a short period of time, they forget about it. They don't hold on to it. They're not traumatized. They have memory, but they're not traumatized. We human beings will hold on to it for 50 years. I can be walking down the street and somebody can be like, hey man, you got an extra cigarette? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I make them a cigarette, and, because I have to roll my own because I can't afford real cigarettes. Support the Howard Dare channel. And the guy starts talking about, the events that happened to him 40 years ago. How his brother fucking stole his truck, and how he didn't make it into work that day, and how his wife left him that day, and how then he went to the bar, and then he got in a fight, and then he got put in jail, and he just got out 10 minutes ago, and that's why he's asking me for a cigarette. That's the story. So this is a 40-year-old story that the men are carrying. This is a lifetime-long story that the men are carrying around. That's how smart we are, okay? So it's a stress trap that I need you to be aware of. In other words, you're a little too smart for your own good. So am I. Learn to relax again. Learn to appreciate the moment. Learn to enjoy your own physical body, even though the culture and the society around you attacks you, belittles you, and neglects you. But this level of stress, it's a constant. It's a constant thing. It's like a ping on your telephone, okay? It's this constant reminder that, men are toxic. Women should be in charge. Men who support the women, those are our leaders. Do you know it bothers me to follow a weak man? It bothers me to listen to a weak man, okay? So you've got this endless amount of stress. Constant emails, constant messages, constant financial pressure, constant set of expectations upon you as a man. And guess what? None of the rewards. Women go out of their way to test men's patience. So this would be like a man being in a relationship with a woman and saying to her, yeah, I really want to sleep with your sister and your friends. I'm just joking. You going to wear that tonight? What, did your mother dress you? So all these constant rip downs, okay? Like she's in a competition with you. How do you like that? Right? So what? You think a woman would like a relationship where a man is constantly in competition with her about how pretty he is? So the man is like trying to get into the fucking mirror so that he can put his mascara onto his eyelashes because his eyes are just as pretty as a woman's. That's exactly what the women are doing with the men, right? The women are like, oh, I'm just as strong as a man. Like, you're not even close. Not a healthy man, not a man whose pituitary gland is working. See, that's the whole thing right there. Yeah, she is just as strong as a modern man, of a really nice guy who's walking around with a constant broken heart. Yeah, she is just as strong as him. Shit, she's stronger than he is. But how about a man with a healthy, functioning pituitary gland and full testosterone? not artificial, natural. And the idea that very little is going to offset that and fuck that up. Is a woman just as strong as that? Bullshit. Not even close. Not even a comparison. That's why she has a round, pretty face. And that's why a man has a long horse face with hair all over it. So that's the deal. Okay. Modern man is living in a constant state of fight or flight everywhere he goes. A crazy, fat, sick Karen can come right up to him and start hitting him, spitting on him, attacking him. Or you want to go the Outward Bear way? She can falsely accuse you and you can go to jail for the rest of your life and you can rot in a pit so deep and so dark that you will never come out of it. Took me 6.5 years. And you know I'm still not out of it, right? You know that I'm still struggling with the damage that shit brought to me. No, reestablish the link between the pituitary and the testosterone. Okay? If you don't, your cortisol stays high. Your luteinizing hormone and your follicle stimulating hormone, they crash. They don't function. Your libido fades. Now you're thinking, oh, but I'm MGTOW and I don't care. I don't have a libido. Yes, you do have a libido. Because if your libido fades, your muscles weaken. Your bones weaken. Your protein synthesis shuts down. You lose your focus. You lose your nerve. You lose your commitment, but it's a nice guy, right? So it's this guy trying to please the women but the women are being unfair and unjust. You can't blame them. They just want what they want. Man feels no drive, no motivation, no pride, nothing but shame. And the world calls this depression or laziness. And you just need to get motivated. And you get self-help bullshit where people say things like, just count backwards from 3 and then force yourself. This is a hormonal problem. This is a biological problem. And it has to do with stress. And it has to do with this emotional abuse. And it's real. It withers your pituitary gland. That's what we're dealing with. Let me check my chat section, see what's going on. Where am I at? There I am. Charismatic Fiend. Thank you, bro. Law is run by the Masons. Keep Kush away from the kids. It's Halloween soon. Okay, when you say Kush, the only thing I'm thinking about is, our buds, right? Law is run by the Masons. So that's an interesting idea right there, okay? We could go way back. We could talk about this. I'm not going to go too far back. Secret societies, all right? Hermetical societies, meaning based on some early ideas of Hermes, the god of communication. This goes back to the Pythagoreans and the cult of Dionysus, the drunken god, the dying god. This is from before, the outbreak, Christianity, the outbreak. The secret societies. Gnostic wisdom. This creates a whole branch of philosophy and science. Almost all of it, almost all of your socialism, communism, capitalism, social democracy, rule by majority, even like fascism, Nazism. It all ties back. It all ties back. Now, one of the areas that it doesn't tie back to is Aristotle. Pure reason, pure logic, sensory data, right? Which is what I was talking about earlier in the beginning of the video, all of our inputs, and then the proper evaluation based on reason and logic. That's it, nothing else. All of these other philosophies and ideas were milling around throughout history, affecting our religion, affecting our leadership, affecting our results. There's a lot of mysticism, a lot of Gnosticism in there, just kind of like hidden pretend, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. You can never prove it one way or the other. Okay. So a lot of that type of knowledge, a lot of this kind of poetic interpretation of the universe and the world, everything is made out of water. Plato's, system of reality and how it ties into Christianity. Lots of mysticism, but not from Aristotle. No. And then from Aristotle, you know where you go? You go to Thomas Aquinas. And what he does is when Aristotle is rediscovered, he tries to bring Aristotle and Christianity together. And it works. It's fine. It's okay. But not in the regular mystic kind of spiritual way. Kind of like in a very logical and wise way. In that the idea that there are the higher forms. There are things like dirt and rocks, and then there are things like plants, which are alive, and then there are things like animals, which are even a higher form, and eventually there is something like man, which is pretty much, the highest physical form that we can get to. And that above man, perhaps there are demons, and above the demons, perhaps there are angels. And above angels, perhaps there is a God. So in that sense, yes, it can mix. It can come together. So what happens then as a result of Thomas Aquinas trying to fuse Aristotle and Christianity, do you know what happens? The Renaissance. We come out of the Dark Ages. That's how it happens. By fusing logic with religion and not letting, religion just completely take over. And you realize how, this now sets you on a path of knowledge and science and wisdom, but you still have the foundation, the decency, the human aspect of it, kind of like overseen with this divine aspect, which we kind of need. You know what I mean? Like we're animals. And you can't deny that. This is what I'm talking about with the pituitary gland and the testes and the testosterone. But of course, we need to have something a little bit higher guiding us as well. And then about the only philosopher that I know of that actually picks up the gauntlet from Aristotle, Thomas Aquinas, the Renaissance, is Ayn Rand. Just complete objectivism. She's not trying to invalidate. She doesn't want to bring religion into the picture, okay? This has to do with metaphysical outlook. There's really only been two ways of looking at the world for the majority. One of them is force, physical force. You want something, you fight, you take it. The other one is spiritual mysticism. I had a dream that we should all, go to the waterfall and pray and make these sacrifices. That's the other way of looking at the world, an emotional interpretation of the world, almost like male-female, almost. Until the Renaissance, until the introduction of reason and logic. That becomes the third way. If we fall off of this third way, and I think you can kind of feel what's going on with like no kings demonstrations, we fall back into the Dark Ages. That's what this is a fight over, right? Oh, this is just about MGTOW. No, this is much bigger. I mean, MGTOW is that bigger thing. It's about freedom. It's about individual. It's about individual rights. It's about the health of the human being. It's about a healthy, functioning male-female dynamic, which we do not have. It's insane. It's insane. Hey, Iridium Kush, thanks for stopping by, bro. Good to see you. Life after 50. When is the last time you fondled Hammerhand's balls? Well, look, I like Hammerhand. I got no problem with him, but, I don't need to go quite that far. What else does he say? What's the matter? At Life After 50, utter racist comments. I don't know that one, bro. I don't know. But I sure do like Kush, right? Anyway, I'm talking about men chilling out and being healthy inside of their own being, okay? Talking about them taking care of their exercise, their diet, their sleep, but also, just as important, their stress levels, okay? I don't want unnecessary internal arguments. You know what I mean? I stand on the side of all men to be good, to be strong, to be healthy, to be dominant, to be motivated, to be hopeful. And that is what's being taken, and that's what's being destroyed. And it's also being destroyed through neglect. Okay, so that's what I care about. So the thing is the men are not broken. They're being chemically castrated by stress. You should be strong, vibrant, muscular, energy, motivated, capable of protecting and providing. But I don't see that. I see many of the men adopting female attitudes. They had to. They wouldn't be accepted into the group if they didn't. And what I'm saying is that this destroys the connection between the pituitary gland and the testes. A good relationship could heal a man. If a man can find the right woman or the right situation or the right job, the right people to interact with, the right relationships, it can lower stress, it can build stability, and literally raise testosterone through affection, through peace, through hope. I've been in jail. I've been in fights. I've watched people die. Okay? It's not about being some tough, angry guy. Shit. Avoid that stuff, my friend. The wrong relationship can kill you. Slow hormonal death. The wrong set of ideas and attitudes in your own mind can destroy you with slow hormonal death. Do you see where I'm going with this? Look at 10 of your men friends, okay? Just pick out 10 of them. If you don't have that, and you probably don't, I don't think I do, then just pick out 10, regular men out in public, not movie stars, not media personalities, just 10 men. Are they strong? Are they fit? Are they healthy? How many? Is there 1 out of 10? Is there 2 out of 10? Is there 3 out of 10? Because there should be about 7 or 8 out of 10. But I don't think you'll find 2 or 3 out of 10. And if they're young, you can't really count that, because we are biologically built to be healthy up to a certain age, right? Like it's going to work. But so you got to let them be mature. All right. Every argument, every silent treatment, every manipulation floods the system with cortisol. Every time the woman sneers at you and looks down at you and goes, your system gets flooded with cortisol. You want to say to yourself, I don't care. Ignore it. Bullshit. Doesn't matter to me one single bit. And I know that's what most of us do. But on a different level, surely it does. There's no way we can deny the biological effect of what's going on. Your brain can't tell the difference between emotional pain and physical danger. So if you come into the meeting and everybody says, we don't need to hear your opinion, you've probably got something stupid to say. The whole system goes out of whack. I know if somebody were to do that to me, I'd be sitting inside my own mind and saying, I want to punch that person. How dare they act that way towards me? I'm going to tear them a new one the first chance I get. That's the pituitary gland shutting down. That's the man going into fight or flight. And the longer that, and it's constant. It's not even like with the animal where they encounter the dangerous situation, they evade the dangerous situation, and then they forget about the dangerous situation, and they are back to physiological health. Hell no. We're too smart. That one sticks with us for ages. Then we come back into work the next day and we look at the people who treated us unfairly and we're like, I don't like that person. I don't like being around that person. I don't want to hear that person. That's what I'm talking about. This level of stress. Okay? And what? You're going to say to yourself, oh, I'm a nice guy. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter to me that the women are laughing at me. Bullshit. It matters to you. You say, no, Howard, I'm MGTOW. It doesn't matter to me. It matters to your body. The man gets up, MGTOW, not MGTOW. And he goes out and all the women on the street, all the other people on the street, they smile at him. They say, good morning, Joe. How you doing, Joe? Good to see you, Joe. Joe, can you come on over after work and watch the game? Maybe we'll have a beer. Maybe we'll have a burger. And Joe says, yeah, sure, man. That sounds great. And Joe goes about his day. And the women smile at Joe and they laugh at Joe's jokes. And Joe's doing okay. Joe's might not be a millionaire or anything like that, but he's doing okay. Now let's contrast that with the same man, okay? But the minute he walks out the door, everybody turns away. Everybody says, ew. Everybody crosses the street. Nobody says, good morning, Joe. And if he says good morning, they say, yeah, good morning. And then they walk away. You think Joe doesn't care? How about your son? How about if you had a son, he's 20, 30 years old, and they treated him like that? You think he doesn't care? You think it doesn't hurt him? You think he doesn't recognize it? Now, I'm not saying it's the most important thing in the world to him. I'm not saying that he's going to break down in the corner and cry. Of course not. But it's going to stick with him. It's going to hurt. So when you live in constant conflict, your biology adapts. It stops producing desire. It stops producing motivation. It stops producing happiness. You lose energy. You lose focus. You lose motivation. So you go to pick up a pen and it slips out of your hand. And it's constant. It's been going on for years. And there is no end in sight unless you take control of it. Then the woman looks at you and says, you're not the person I thought you were. You've changed. Trump comes up with peace in the Middle East, and the people are like, yeah, no kings. We don't want no kings. Bullshit. All men are kings. All people are kings or queens. I don't care. You didn't change, okay? You didn't do anything wrong. You were chemically neutered by emotional stress and neglect. That's what's going on. The only reason that I get to say this is because I don't have any advertisements, because I don't have any sponsors, because I'm not trying to make money off of your attention. Okay? Chemically, emotionally, psychologically neutered. Like if you had a dog and you were threatening to hit it all the time and spit on it and abuse it. You should be so lucky that that dog would become vicious. Because what it will really do is it'll become submissive. So you think that by being submissive, that this world, that these people who have treated us like this are going to respect us? You think you don't care? Wait until you lose your job. Wait until you can't get another job like me, just because of the way I look and the way I sound. Wait until they put you in jail. Wait until they falsely accuse you. Wait until they try to kill you. You think it doesn't matter. And now you get to recognize how important it is, how you feel about yourself, A man without peace cannot be happy. He cannot be strong. He cannot be passionate. He can't care about anything. He has no peace. All he has is anger. And no amount of supplements can fix what emotional chaos destroys. There's no chemical that you could give to the dog that's been abused its whole life to make it change. This is a biological feedback loop. There's no escaping it. Once the testosterone drops, everything spirals. Your confidence, your mood, your energy, your hope for the future, it all declines. You start second guessing yourself. You lose your edge. You don't even feel like fighting anymore. I say we fight for its own sake. Let's fucking fight. I like it. I did too. Sometimes I'd get so pissed off and angry, get somebody look at me and, I'd say like, shut the fuck up. They'd be like, oh, you want to fight? I'd be like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I fucking do. Now, you see, to one dog, this is like, oh no, this is really stressful. I don't like this. But to another dog, this is like, this is what I do. This is what makes me feel strong. This is why the modern men lose themselves. This is why 8 out of 10 of the men look broken. They become emotional, reactive, pleasing people instead of the calm, focused, steady, strong thing that they truly are. That is why my avatar is a one-dimensional cartoon character. And you can make no mistake as to what it says and what it means. So your pituitary gland doesn't just regulate the hormones. It regulates your identity. See why the avatar is the way that it is? Identity. Are you a strong man? Of course you are. Are you a creation of the universe, representing the strongest physical force in the universe? Yes, you are. Don't forget it. When your identity, when your hormones are strong, you feel strong. You feel alive. When it's weak, the man feels lost and hopeless. And he might be a nice guy with lots of strong emotions. Yeah, how you doing, bro? You still mad? You still all angry and screaming and shit? Let's see. G-Man says, I want to send you money for a bag of tobacco, but I won't use Cash App. Suggestions? Absolutely, my man. Thank you, brother. Bitcoin, right? Just boom, click on that Bitcoin and send some of that over. Bitcoin's going through a bit of a lull right now, but it'll bounce back. It's very, very strong. They work to keep this prison going. Oh yeah, so oh no, I'm not going to do it. Look, if you're a man and you're getting all emotional and upset, like you think we've got some interpersonal problems going on here, like you think you've got something nasty to say to Howard Dare, grow the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. Stop putting yourself through that bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like you want a fucking Doberman Pinscher or a Great Dane or a St. Bernard to just fucking turn on you and bite you in the fucking neck? No, of course you don't. All right? You want a man who's spent years in prison just turning around fucking breaking your jaw? No, of course you don't. That's stupid. Yeah. Just some little kid, and we all, it's in all of us, right? So I'm coming into prison and I'm walking down the long green mile and I see some of the other guys coming down the other way. And I look at them and I'm like, in my own head, I'm like, I could beat that guy up. That guy doesn't look like he's any problem for me. I see another, it's like, oh, I could beat that guy up too, no problem. And I see another guy and it's like, nah, I don't want to fuck with him. He's pretty big. But like 4 out of 5. I was just fine. And the point is, in this, is that this is no different from a little boy. This is exactly what I did when I was fucking 2, 3 years old. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing, but now I'm a full-grown man. This is the healthy functioning. Sensing danger, sensing emotional abuse and bullshit. Yeah, in a way, MGTOW is dying, right? It is, because much of it was just emotionally based anger, red pill rage. So if that is the only place that the man has, red pill rage and feeling sorry for himself, then MGTOW for him burns out inside of, a few years. And worse, it could become this kind of feminized club of, group biases. Like this person doesn't 100% agree with me and I don't 100% agree with them, so they're a bad person. I was like, what the fuck is that? That's some emotional feminine shit, isn't it? Like, no, we agree on 80% of the shit. We are brothers, not 100%. Shit, I like chocolate ice cream. Somebody else might like strawberry. Of course, it's gay as fuck, but there it is. They're allowed. I understand. Maybe there is no chocolate available. Maybe there is no vanilla available. So you go for the strawberry. I'm not going to judge you or hate you as a man because you like strawberry ice cream. I'm not going to do it. You can still be my brother. Shit, I'll even buy you some strawberry ice cream. If that's what you like, that's what you got. That's what you got. Whatever you want, guy. Unless you try to start shit with me. I don't, it doesn't really matter. So I want you to start taking up a little bit of meditating, a little bit of deep breathing, okay? When you're going to sleep, take yourself 5-10 minutes to clear your mind, take some deep breaths, let the stress go, stop making yourself crazy, give yourself a chance, give yourself a break. The world won't. The feminized world around you, they're going to treat you like shit. Every time you stand up as a man with your pride or say what's right and try to do what's right, you get what I'm saying, guys? They're going to treat you like shit. They're going to say, you're gay. You're weak. Ew. You're a barbarian. Don't put yourself through that. Don't look, it's a female way to go. Don't do it. Right? Like the man's getting all upset and he's yelling at me and he's all angry and shit. And I'm just thinking of some stupid woman crying. That's all it is to me. Anyway. Yeah. Bitcoin. Absolutely. Cash App is a nice application. Right? It works. You know why I'm not on like PayPal and some of the other payment processors? Do you want to take a guess why I'm not on PayPal and the other payment processors? Because they know what MGTOW is. And when they find out that I make MGTOW content, do you know what they do? They kick me off the platform. My channel of 75,000 subscribers was sold by the people at YouTube, meaning some of the employees at YouTube hacked the channel and then sold it. And do you know who they sold it to? They sold it to some Japanese girl who liked to make fashion videos about Japanese anime fashion, right? Nah, that didn't work out. Had she been willing to make videos about something a little more in line, maybe it would have worked out. I don't know. But these principles, these ideals that the people here, claim to be a part of, no. That's just a line, right? It's emotional group bias. That's the currency that they trade in, that they exchange in, that we all say the same things and fit in to the same groups, right? It's not a man's way. Don't do it to yourself. You don't need to. Well, as a young person, maybe you do need to. Hey, Garrett, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Garrett's probably wondering why I think so highly of him. Not really, of course. I just naturally do. No, I had a really good friend named Garrett who did right by me when I was in jail not too long ago. And he was a good guy. And I looked up to him and respected him. And he conducted himself, like a strong man. And so when, I see the name Garrett, I'm like, hey, bro, good to see you. Right. But also, we, have also developed our own real exchange right here within, MGTOW content. So I'm talking about the connection. I'm talking about male sex drive. Okay. I'm talking about the connection between the pituitary gland and the gonads, and how if there is this healthy functioning between this little gland at the base of your brain and your balls, we produce testosterone. And when we produce testosterone naturally in the right proportions, healthy on a regular basis, we start to feel alive. We start to feel motivated. We start to feel hopeful about the future. We start to feel like we can overcome anything, that there is no problem that we can't overcome. I don't care how big those waves are. I don't care how tall that mountain is. I don't care how nasty that fucking animal is. As a man, we'll deal with it. No problem. As a matter of fact, I might enjoy the problem, right? It's like you think, like they're like, oh, I'm going to give him a hard time. It's like, no, I'm going to grab you by your collar and shake you a couple times and your bones are going to break. So, you want to play? You want to have fun? Me too. I want to also. And what a great feeling that is, to fucking square up, to line the fuck up with somebody you disagree with and start throwing punches. Now, you got to have somebody willing on the other side. You know what I mean? And then you fucking try your moves out, boom, you connect. And you know what they do? They don't fall down to the ground. No, they take that punch and they say, they like nod to themselves and they say, yeah, good one, good one. And then they come right back with more of it. And maybe that time, then they get you, they catch you. And you're like, holy shit, that was hard, right? And it's like, I'm coming right back for more. This is the strength of the masculine nature. Stands up to everything and anything. There is no force in the universe stronger than the persistent will of masculine nature. That's it. That's where you build your bridges. That's where you build your rocket ships. That's where you build your information systems. That's where you build your cities and your roads and your castles and your pyramids. Through the positive functioning of the pituitary gland, the testes, and testosterone. And you're going to let it go because your feelings are hurt, because the women don't like you? That's not the right kind of a woman for you anyway. Chasing after beauty. That's what she's doing, okay? She wants approval from the group. Okay, yeah, types of women to avoid. She doesn't care about you. She cares about approval from the group. She cares about everybody liking her. So if you've got a child and it's like, hey, you should give that child, puberty blockers. And there's the approval of the group versus the health of your child, on the other side of the scale. Which one is the woman going to pick? And most women will pick the approval of the group, not the health of their child. They will pick the primacy of their emotions and their feelings and belonging, not the truth, not the function, not the strength, not the future well-being. How about it, man? What do you want to do? You want to be part of their group? Fine, go ahead, do it. But say goodbye to your balls. You want to go your own way, be your own man, not reject your sexual drive, not reject your masculine drive, not reject your animal instincts, but harness them, strengthen them, use them like a wild horse. Okay. Yeah. Support me on Cash App if you can. And if you can't, go into Bitcoin. And if you then say to me, oh, I don't have Bitcoin, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, you don't like Cash App because you don't want to deal in fiat currency, but you don't have Bitcoin. So what are you saying to me? right? Like, oh, I'm not going to use this regular means of exchange because that's not good enough for me. And then I say, well, then here's the other, totally fucking solid crypto level of it. You're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Right? It's like, okay, you want to fight? It's like, yeah, but I got to go and get some dental work done. So not today. Well, then what you want is, it's not a fight. It's kind of like a performance, right? So the performative arts, we got some of that going on here too, man, why would I care about what the content that the other people make or don't make? It doesn't matter to me. It's nice to belong to a group, to be a part of something. That's nice. And we can definitely support and help each other, which I would gladly do for you guys. But you guys won't, many of them won't do it for me. And then they pull it into this kind of interpersonal conflict situation, right? Here, you want to rule for MGTOW? No interpersonal bullshit conflict. You don't like that, man? I don't care. I don't care. I guess I understand. You know what I mean? The minute you create something, you have these standards. You have boundaries which define it. This is good. This is healthy. So how do we reclaim our power as men? Because I'm talking about the men that are broken. I'm talking about the men that are just they're such nice guys. They would never fight. They would never disagree. They would never tell somebody to fuck off. They would never break anything. And I'm not suggesting that, that's the way you should be. I'm saying that there is that part of us. It's not something to be shamed and belittled and shut down. How about you got a good friend, okay? And somebody walks up to your friend, spits in his face and smacks him in the face and he hits the ground. What do? You fight. You attack that person. You smack him in the face. You knock him to the ground. You check on your friend. What's wrong with that? You want to kill that? You want to get rid of that? Bullshit. So don't confuse yourself, You got to cut out the toxic people and the emotional drama. I have no emotional drama with MGTOW, right? Somebody coming in here and saying, oh, you believe this and I believe that, and therefore you're full of shit. Like, get a clue. You're a man, I'm a man, cut it out, okay? I'd rather be alone. Choose solitude over chaos. Okay, if you can't have a good situation, then walk the fuck away. Don't try to change it. Don't try to fix it. Get the fuck out of it and find a new one. Peace is the foundation of your power. Calm. No stress. The stress is what's killing you. I'm telling you that the fourth wheel on this wagon is you keeping your stress level down. You exercise, you watch your diet, you get good sleep. You don't take, things that are going to screw you up, like, various drugs and processed food and things like that. So those are 3 pillars. But if you can't get that stress level down, if you can't reestablish that connection between the brain and the balls, and then exist in that place, then I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for you, for a man to go his whole life and not have that connection with his own masculinity is wrong. And I know it's happened, and it kills the men. They have nothing. They have nothing that they're proud of, that they delight in, that they find joy in, that they find strength and motivation is. They're just a nice guy. Yeah, capitulating, the bending over man, right? Or the emotional man who's getting all upset and shit, right? Two sides of the same coin. The broken man who's not even trying anymore, and the hyper emotional man who's getting upset like a woman all the time. Neither one of them can work. Neither one of them are worthy of you. This is why I have the one-dimensional avatar. That's worthy of you. Not your tattoos, not your clothes, not your perfume, not the amount of money in your pocket, but your physical well-being, your identity, your integrity to yourself. This is the currency that will get you through the dark night of the soul. This is the strength that'll get you through a false accusation and prison sentence. This is the strength that will get you through a rejection by the whole world, even your family. If you can have this, if you can have this identity of masculine strength, you'll be okay. It won't be easy, but you'll be okay. And if you don't have that, I'm sorry, my son. Is there anything I can do to make things a little easier for you? Hopefully, well, I'd like to tell you that hopefully you're not going to be tested. I'd like to tell you that it's going to be okay, but you can't be spared. No man can be spared the responsibility of his own physical identity. Now, the good news is if you can establish this natural connection, you can make progress. But you can't cheat. You can't fake it. You can't just take the supplements because that'll just knock you off balance. It'll make a difference. It'll help for a little while. Go ahead, take the testosterone. You'll feel it. But it's not natural, and it'll go away, and it will amortize into estrogen. And that's why the man gets upset, because what little testosterone he does have gets converted to estrogen, and now he's very angry. Do you know what a man does with those things? Do you realize that I play with these things? These are toys. They're a joke. They're a stuffed fucking puppy. Excuse me. Bullshit. Sorry about that. That was a spam call, and I tried to reject it, but the system was just like, no, spam is really important. Don't you care? No, I don't care. I care about what I'm doing right now. I care about a connection with at least one or two of you to fucking help you wake up to this. And I know that some of you already are. Some of you are way beyond me. I'm struggling with this stuff, but I also know there's some who are just now opening their eyes to this. Give it a try, bro. Okay? Do your exercise, do your diet, get your sleep. And also take a few deep breaths. Relax. Make the connection. Natural connection. Get it established. Keep it going day after day, week after week, month after month. This is identity. This is strength. This is confidence. This is passion. This is drive. This is motivation. This is tenacity. This is strength. This is willpower. Willpower. Persistent over time. No lapse. Natural cycle, sleep, daily cycle, but no lapse. No drug-induced, no stimulant, supplement-induced. No. It's the natural human body, what man has been working with tens of thousands of years. Give yourself some peace. I know it's unfair. I know you've been cheated and treated unfairly. I know you're being neglected right now. I know that people are taking cheap shots at you and getting their little ego boosts off of you. I know that. Turn away from that. Don't let that. Find the internal peace. Do not let it make your mind enraged. I'm talking about your internal state. I'm talking about the conversation that you're having with yourself within your own mind about the situations in life. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you calming that one down a little bit rather than, like an angry little barking dog. No, become a hibernating bear. You have no idea how connected we are to the hibernating bear. Why do you think why do you think the people are obese and so overweight and so out of shape? What do you think is going on there? Why do you think they can't build muscle? Why, if you look out and see 10 men, 8 of them are in bad shape and just dragging themselves through it? Well, consider the hibernating bear. Yes, indeed. That's how we feed you. That's how many of the men eat on their processed sweet food. It gives no nutrition. It gives temporary energy, and it gives a craving for more of it because it's not giving you nutrition. So, like a bear getting ready to go hibernating, the people get up in the morning, and the first thought that comes to their mind is, I have no energy. Oh, it's so unfair. And then they're like, I want to go get something good to eat. And it motivates them. And they drag themselves out of bed and they go and they get themselves their snackies and their foodies, the stuff that they like. And it spikes their blood sugar and gives them a quick hit of energy. But it doesn't give any nutrition to their body. It doesn't give protein synthesis. It doesn't build their hair, their bones, their teeth, their muscles. Nope. It just gives them a little bit of blood sugar energy. And that sugar, it's trying to pump whatever protein you've got into your muscles, but it can't because there is none. So it goes to the liver and it goes to the internal organs and it goes into visceral fat. And within a couple of hours, the poor person just wants more sweet food. And they keep getting fatter and fatter with less and less energy, just like a bear getting ready to go into hibernation for the winter. But the human being doesn't go into hibernation. They just exist like this all the time. So you see you see so many obese people, so many out of shape people, not shaped like a man, not acting like a man, not thinking like a man, not sounding like a man. And they're hungry and they're upset and they've got no energy and no motivation. So eat right. Rebuild your body. Lift weights. Sleep deeply. Fall into sleep. Feed your body the real food, not man-made processed food. You need zinc, you need magnesium, eggs, healthy fats. This is the diet that made you. This is the diet of your ancestors, okay? And the pituitary will thrive on this discipline, on this routine. This is why if you go into the hospital, okay, for a month or so or a few weeks, the quality of the food isn't so great, but the consistency is there, okay? This system that we need to get turned back on, it thrives on regularity. The stress and the cortisol and the neglect and the emotional turmoil, they destroy it. This is what I want you to start protecting, okay? Breathe deeply. Breathe through your nose. Give yourself some cold exposure. Give yourself some hot sunlight. It is in the vacillation, the dilation vacillation, okay? That's where a flood of, so you get cold and the blood vessels constrict, okay? Everything tightens up. And then you get out of the cold and it all opens up. And all these nutrients, all these good things that you were supposed to be doing and eating, and this regular hormonal balance that you have comes flooding back in, right? There you go. That's what that's about. It's a huge part of it. And it's also the whole idea of, resetting, your kind of dopamine expectations. Okay. Now check this out, my friend. If you don't do this, your dopamine levels are off. There is a direct relationship between testosterone and dopamine. But it has to be healthy. It has to be balanced. It has to be natural. Can't just give you a bunch of dopamine and then that'll boost your testosterone. No, you'll know. You will definitely know. Like you'll be like, wow, I feel kind of good. But then the rest of your body is like, no. This is artificial. I mean, it feels good, but we're not going all in on this system. We can't. It's actually making us unbalanced. And we're actually getting a little nervous about the whole thing. This is why your antidepressant medication can't really work, because it's an unnatural solution. It's actually taking you more off balance. So the person takes the, antidepressive medication and say a selective serotonin receptor intake inhibitor, or even selective dopamine adrenaline receptor intake inhibitor. And yeah, you've suddenly got more of those hormones, which make you feel good because, you've got more of it, but you're not naturally producing it. So it's this horrible imbalance. Natural. It's the way to go. This, if you'll do this, it'll restore your hormonal rhythm and balance. And then you can be the best man that you can be. Short of that, I don't know what to tell you, okay? If you'll do that, as I said, it's connected to the dopamine. You can reconnect with your purpose in life. These purposes are deep. They are fundamental. Single cellular creatures have them, and complex multicellular human beings have them. Primary is survival, to just stay alive, to not be in pain. This is why addiction is so dangerous, right? People are just trying to escape pain. It's quite natural, turning away from pain and moving towards comfort. But of course, you need the discipline there also, all right? Teach your nervous system, teach your internal dialogue how to relax again. Wouldn't it be funny if everything you need to have a good, happy, strong, productive life was right there for you, but for one problem? And that is your internal attitude with yourself, the conversation that you have in your own head and how it physiologically makes you respond. I'm saying you take that shit seriously from now on. That's not just something on the side that, maybe sometimes, or like you enjoy indulging your rage. I make all this content and I'm railing, I'm screaming, I'm frothing at the mouth, right? Not really. I've thought about it. You know what I mean? This is an expression, okay? Connect with your purpose. And your purpose, yeah, there's a great one, right? Philosophically, what's your purpose in life? What's the meaning of life? What's the purpose? Many of you are thinking about sacrifice. Many of you are thinking about dying on the cross. What if the purpose is nothing more than for you to be healthy and fit and strong and capable? Yeah, there's going to be some suffering and some pain, but for the most part, you're just going to have a good life. What if that's it? That's the purpose. What if you had a child, a son who's 20, 30 years old? What's his purpose? Is his purpose to go to war? Is his purpose to find the cure for cancer? Is his purpose to take care of a woman and raise a family? His purpose is to have a good life. That's it. Him, for him. That's your purpose. Without a purpose, a man is an easy target for everything. Hey man, you want to go do this? You'll feel good. Ooh, look at her. She's pretty. Hey, check this out. But if you have purpose, no. You'll look, you'll check it out, and then you'll go back to your job. When you live without direction, your pituitary gland, it doesn't know how to respond. It just burns itself out in useless rage. But if you'll do the right thing and take care of yourself, the body will reward you with courage, with energy. It rewards meaning with testosterone. That's it. That's your reward. Your reward is your testosterone, the healthy functioning of your testosterone. And that is what builds the pyramids and the castles and the bridges and goes to war and goes to prison and endures. That's it. This is the missing wheel, your pituitary gland. You can't have masculine health in a life of chaos. Like, okay, men at war. You know why America was effective in World War II? Because of troop rotation, because we rotated our troops. We didn't stick men out there for fucking 8 weeks fighting on the front lines. Sometimes it happens, and there's nothing you can do. But we rotate our troops out of the combat situation. First couple weeks, they get adjusted. They learn from the veterans. They mirror the veterans. Next couple weeks, very effective, strong, capable, alert, full of energy. Next couple weeks, it starts going down. The stress is too much. The hand shakes a little bit. The eye has a little bit more trouble focusing. A couple more weeks after that, you lose about 80% effectiveness. And not only that, if you let it go on for those 8 weeks, if you keep the troops on the front line for the 8 weeks, you can't refix them. You can't repair them. They're done. That's it. It's over. But if you'll take them out at 6 weeks and you'll give them a few weeks rest and relaxation and you keep them with their unit cohesion, guess what? They come back to full strength. So stop putting yourself on the front lines. Stop burning yourself out constantly every day. Take a half an hour every day. Regroup. Rotate. Rotate out of this abuse and chaos and neglect. You'll rediscover your power. Not the kind that dominates and abuses people or has fits, but the kind that commands respect for yourself. If I had a son, that's what I would want for him. Integrity of identity, respect for himself, health, well-being, confidence in the future. And I know that he could not have that if he was chasing after some silly, pretty girl. I know that. I know he could not have that if he was involved with a bunch of emotional men. I want you to become the man that God designed you to be. That's all. You just go ahead and you fill out God's plan, okay? Not my plan, not your parents' plan, not your boss's plan, not the girl's plan, God's plan, creation's plan for you. Make the most of it. I know a lot of you are sitting there and, you're in bad shape. I hope you understand that if you can get back to the natural food, talking about meat, eggs, fish, animal protein, that you can turn this around. I'll tell you something else that works, a prison diet, where they just put you in jail and they feed you the most horrible garbage in the world, which is essentially peanut butter, orange, crackers, milk. That's your lamb. That's your breakfast bag, okay? There's no lunch. And then dinner, you really don't even want to know. Slop. What is slop? That's a good question. Nobody really knows. It seems to be just a collection of stuff that you would normally throw out, put into a pot, mix with water, and heat it up. That's what slop is. And that's what they feed you. When your mind is calm, your pituitary gland is strong, and your soul is disciplined, and you can become the man that nature designed you to be. Wouldn't that be nice? Just what nature designed. I see a lot of good people out there. I see a lot of good men out there, okay? A lot of them have some decent genetics, but they ruin it. They eat too much. They don't exercise enough. They give into their rage. They give into their emotions. They don't recognize the power of stability and peace and how important that is to a man. You think about the men that you've admired in life. Were they rageful, crazy people? I don't think so. Were they undisciplined, scattered all over the place? I don't think so. Did they lose their temper and give in? I don't think so. That's the kind of man that you are, that you can be, that you should be. You will feel good and healthy when you do that. All right, that's what I wanted to say. Okay, seems like, hobbies are great, my friend. Anything that can, take your mind off of this horrible self-examination is really the way to go. MGTOW lifestyle tips. Hey, MGTOW, monk music, don't engage. Oh, I know who. Oh, hey. No, I've just seen it just now. Monk music, don't engage. You reading these, pal? I'm reading them now. Man, I am so worried about what's going on over there in Great Britain. It's been a long time. Like you and I have had a few little exchanges here since I've been back, but not much. Yeah, I love guitar, but I don't have a guitar. But I'm constantly, well, not constantly, but I'm often thinking about it. What I'm focusing on is just the pentatonic positions, position 1, position 2, position 3, and how they fit in, with the various keys and bar chords. It's got this very Hendrix sound to it. So I'm studying the whole theory in all of that, and the modes and how, these certain basic notes out of the major scale just kind of fit within these particular bar chords. Because I've always been fascinated how somebody can effectively play lead guitar. You know what I mean? Because they're making it up on the fly. Not 100% making it up, but you can tell they're improvising. And it's like, holy shit. And it's the positions, it's the pentatonic positions that I think is allowing them to do that. And then with the incorporating, of the sevenths, and some various other little tweaks that they can bring in to the various lead runs, the various modes that they can employ, and how those tie in with, another set of chords. I still don't really understand the minor and major chords within any given particular scale. I mean, I kind of do, right? But I don't have them memorized. I don't have them down pat. All of this is happening, and I don't even have a guitar right now. Right? So, like, okay, I'm in the key of, A minor pentatonic, and I'm trying to figure out which major scales will work with it, right? C scale. Yeah, fascinating stuff, but I can't play. But I'm really worried about how things are going over there in Great Britain. I've heard, of the woman who's, arrested for, like 33 months for posts on social media. And apparently these people were told to plead guilty and that they would, get an easy situation as a result of that. And they're putting people in jail for their posts on X and Facebook for 33 months. And they're letting people who commit violent crime against children loose on the streets. And the British government is like, they're the civil servants, the people who work in the government, they're like 100% behind this. They'll put their own citizens in jail for saying something that they don't agree with. And they'll let an immigrant come in and commit violent acts against children, and they'll turn a blind eye. What the hell is that? Okay. You understand this is what I'm talking about, right? Masculine nature. And then this idea of going along with the group and not wanting to offend anybody and wanting to be a nice guy. while your future, your civilization, and your children themselves are sacrificed. Yeah, what kind of a man is that? That's the kind of man that our society is pushing us to become, that it is insisting we become. What do you think the men over there in Great Britain aren't angry as hell and wanting to do nothing but fight? Yeah, let me find it, okay? Let me read you something. One sec. We're not 100% sure if Kipling actually wrote this one, but it sounds like Kipling, okay? I know Kipling a little bit, and I'm familiar with his works and kind of the way he speaks and presents things. And yeah, this does fit. And of course, this is the wrath of the awakened Saxon. Here it is. It was not part of their blood. It came to them very late, with long arrears to make good, when the Saxon began to hate. They were not easily moved. They were icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved ere the Saxon begin to hate. Their voices were even and low. Their eyes were level and straight. There was neither sign nor show when the Saxon began to hate. It was not preached to the crowd. It was not taught by the state. No man spoke it aloud when the Saxon began to hate. It was not suddenly bred. It will not swiftly abate. Through the chilled years ahead, when time shall count from the date that the Saxon began to hate. Some people would say that's not Kipling, okay? We don't know. But yeah, it works. You know what I mean? That is kind of the way that he structured things. So if it isn't Kipling, it could be Kipling. You know, somebody did it and they knew what they were doing. But isn't this what we're talking about? There's Great Britain. Yes, the descendants, many of them, the descendants of the Saxons. That would be King Alfred the Great. Fair, good people, decent people, honest people, hardworking people. What does it take for them to turn to hate? Well, we've gotten there, haven't we? Betrayed by their own governments. Yeah, I'm a big fan of British history, right? The Alfred the Great and the Saxon kings going up until 1158, or is it 85, for the Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror comes up against Harold something or other, Goodwin, yeah, and takes the English throne. And, you know, this is William of Normandy, William the Bastard, William the Conqueror. And he is a descendant of the Vikings, right? Like if you've seen the show Vikings, right? He would be one of the descendants of Rollo, who goes to France and, you know, establishes himself there. So, and that is like, you know, 750, 800 AD, 850 AD. And then, you know, up at like 1185 or 55, Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror, the descendant of Rollo, the Viking, comes over and displaces the Saxon kings and, you know, brings in the Norman age to England. A lot of castle building. I really like that stuff, the whole history of everything. Sorry. Yeah, I just went off on that tangent. Bang on. Yeah. Oh, there's definitely an undertow of anger over there in Great Britain. I'm scared. We lose them, then we're next. Britain is fat and cucked. Not all of it. Not all of it. There is a part that's going to awaken. There is the Saxon. The old age Saxon is going to awaken. The Battle of Hastings, 1066. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. And Goodwin, might have won that battle had he not had to go up to the north and fight off the Vikings and then come back down to the south of England and fight off William the Conqueror. Yeah, incredible stuff. No, the Saxon will reawaken, and it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. But there's a fight and there's a conflict. Commie dictatorship. Yeah. Socialistic, group approval, feminized, gynocentric dictatorship. Iron fist in a velvet glove. A hidden matriarchy. And the men who want their approval and go along with it and think that they can find a future in it when they're cucked. They destroy their own masculine nature. This is what I'm talking about, turning back on the pituitary gland and the connection to the testes, and then the reproduction of natural testosterone so that the man can become exactly what nature intended him to be, not this cucked, bent over, capitulating, I don't want to make anybody angry. Sad, sad creature. That's what we're trying to work through. His men were tried. The men are brewing. Yeah, look at Tommy Robinson. Okay, look at how this is rising up. Look at what's fascinating to me just today is the whole idea of Trump bringing peace to the Middle East, and the idea that the rest of the cucked, feminized world are protesting him with the No Kings protest. Hey, I like kings. I have no problem with you being a king in your own land, okay, in your own home, in your own domain. I eat meat and fat, 60 and still jacked. Exactly, my friend. That's what I do too, man. I'm 63 and I fucking look better than most guys in their 40s, right? Like I got all these, I was talking about the hibernating bear and how people are basically, the man has turned himself into like a hibernating bear. Just, yeah, you got to eat right. And the last thing is you got to let some of that rage, you got to give yourself some peace so that the hormonal balance can kick back in. Then we get the regular testosterone kicking in, and then there will be nothing that can stop you. Right? Okay. Wonderful to see you, MGTOW Monk. Wonderful to see all of my MGTOW brothers and to hang out. I should do this more often, but I'm abused and neglected too. I'm just sitting out here, man. The reason why I'm talking about this is because this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on right now. I've done everything. And now I need to get the hormones under natural control. And it's going to produce some incredible results. Washboard abs, heavy squats, dips, and chins. That'll get it done, man. Right? Toss in some push-ups, But those squats, the chins, those are really something too. That's a full body, kind of situation. That's like a whole body situation, doing the chin ups. Yeah, this is the way. And, I hope that you're incorporating some meditation and some calming in there, or not letting your anger and rage and frustration at the unfairness of the situation just destroy the hormonal imbalance, balance. Don't let that happen. Give yourself the peace, give yourself the clarity, give yourself the discipline and the strength of identity. You're not some emotional. Did you see the guy in here earlier getting all upset and yelling at me? That's my brother. I would do anything I could to help him out. And he would stab me in the back and pour gasoline on me and flip the match. Not because he hates me, not because he knows me, not because I'm bad or evil, just because he's angry, he's upset. And I don't think he would go that far. I think he'd be a little cooler than that. But you know what I mean? Like, you're reading the stuff he's saying and shit. It's like, oh, gee, I hope he doesn't hurt anybody. bullshit. One shake and the bones break and dislocate. But I'm not going to do that. Great to hear you, my friend. Yeah, it is good when the men who have known each other for time and, admire the integrity and the strength come back together. I hope MGTOW doesn't fall by the wayside. I hope it doesn't become just this tirade of anger about the man not getting laid or the fact that the girl isn't like bowing down and submitting to him. So, the excess testosterone, it doesn't make the women select the man. It's not like, now it's like, wow, what a handsome man. I want to be with him. That's not what the testosterone does. What the testosterone does is it makes the man take more risks and chances, and foraging behavior. He's willing to put himself out there and go out there further. He's willing to take more chances. He's willing to take more risks. He wants to compete. He likes to fight. I like to fight. And I don't mean that like that I love chaos. I like a big challenge. I like a real challenge. This is masculine nature. This is testosterone. It's not she's picking him. He's doing whatever he has to do to get the job, to get the girl, to get the car, to get the material thing, to get the status. Yeah. Anger control is one of the most difficult things to manage. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. And just not giving into that, feminine bullshit rage. Never understood some of the MGTOW going into that. I mean, I do understand it, and I'm not going to condemn, but yeah, it's boyish. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, nobody cares how anybody feels. Not really, so I hope you can see what I'm trying to, get at. Oh, wait a minute. You guys need to, those of you who can, por favor, senor. There it is. Support the channel, Cash App donations. The reason why I'm asking you and I'm putting it out there is because I'm not hitting you with advertisements. I'm not hitting you with merchandise. I don't want to do that. I want to speak directly to you. I don't want there to be a filter between us. These are the things that I'm dealing with and facing, okay? I don't know that I'm going to make it. I don't know that you're going to make it. This is my way of helping. This is my way of giving. And I give and give and give. I've got probably like 1,000 videos now since I, was released out of, prison. Okay. I've got close to 750,000 views, and that's not much. That's very little for me. That's me giving. That's me reaching out to 750,000 people and saying, hey, you can have some hope. Hey, men are good. You can have a great future. You can have a strong, hopeful future. You can have the energy that you need to get up every fucking day and get it done and feel good about it. And then come home at night and fucking have a good meal, have a good steak, enjoy your football game, and then chill out, be calm, find peace, rest, and become strong again. The rotation. Not a man under constant abuse, constant recrimination from within himself. Give yourself a break from the constant recrimination and guilt and shame that plays about in your own mind due to the neglect and the abuse and the cowardness of the world around you. Recognize that's what it came from. Separate yourself from it. Give yourself a fair chance. Give yourself a fair chance as if you were a father and you were looking after your 20 or 30-year-old son. Okay? Treat yourself like that. Hold yourself in that much of a regard. Love yourself. Respect your masculine nature. Okay, now I'm starting to get mad. Right? Hey, AP530. What's going on, bro? Good to see you. Yeah, see, these are good relationships with men. These are healthy things. These are things that make us stronger. Okay, I could ask my friends for help. If they could do it, they would do it. They can ask me for help. If I can do it, I'll do it. What a great thing. What a great fucking thing, right? None of us are strong enough all alone. There's some ideas in MGTOW that are not great ideas. Okay. I'm sorry. You don't have to be alone. You're not just one man in the whole world all by yourself. Hell no. You're here. We're together. I feel your pain. I know what's going on. You feel my pain. You know what's going on. I'm not alone. You're not the only one experiencing this. As I said, go ahead, look at 10 men, and you tell me how many of them are healthy and strong and productive and having a good life. And if you can find 2 or 3 of them, fucking you follow them, you figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it, and then you emulate them. Got to get my head down. Rotation. Chat soon, pal. Thank you, bro. Yeah. This is how you keep the troops fresh. This is how we keep our spirit fresh. You don't need to be in this fight 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every day you take yourself an hour or 2, you chill the fuck out, you get back in touch with your breathing, with your heart's desire. You don't cry, you don't weep, you don't indulge, you don't let your mind run wild. You bring it back under control like a Belgian Malinois dog, you know what I mean? Just fucking focus, discipline, but chill. Not all angry, not all upset, right? Yeah, that was my brother earlier. Right? Fucking cursing at me, spewing at me, spitting at me, making shit up. I mean, I'm glad he's got a little passion going on there, right? Ooh, yeah. So, I was releasing some political content and, excuse me, one second. So I make MGTOW content. I speak to the men as best I can, and it doesn't get much headway or traction. If I showed pictures of pretty women in skimpy outfits and them complaining, that would get a lot of views, but I don't care. I want truth to the men. So I don't get a lot of views. I don't get a lot of interaction, right? So I'm releasing some political content because, I'm political. I'm one of the few MGTOW that it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. It is political. It really is. And I'm getting the people who are really upset about Trump, so like I did snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize. And indeed he was. And I got a bunch of people who hate Trump coming onto my, channel and commenting, it's like, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He didn't deserve anything. He's a fascist and a pig. Right. And you'd think that I would get upset over this stuff, but I'm like, oh, I just love the interaction, and then the idea of like baiting them and bringing them, into a greater state of emotional imbalance. It just, it thrills me. It thrills me to no end. So if you see in my comment section, somebody saying stuff like, you suck, Howard Dare. I hate you. Trump is evil. And I say something like, oh, gee, I'm so sorry. What could I possibly do to make you change your mind? Okay. So if you see that comment and you're thinking to yourself, Howard Dare would never actually say that. You're right. But I'm baiting them in. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've got somebody who like wants to fight with me and I'm saying like, oh, no, please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. Because I want them to throw a couple punches and then I just want to counter rip their head off. But that's not even true. I don't want to counter rip their head off. I want to keep them coming forward. And I want to use them to increase engagement. Any attention is good attention, kind of like. And then I want them like hooked in. So don't be surprised if you see me doing that. Yeah, Trump is awesome. Maybe Trump can help out over in Great Britain too. Maybe what's happening here in the Middle East can act as a kind of, startup for some other good change. What do you guys think about the No Kings protests that are coming up? They're starting tomorrow all over the world. People are going to assemble, all the Antifa, the trans, the LGBTQ plus whatevers are going to be out there with their signs, with their purple hair, screaming and tearing and gashing of the teeth about how evil and bad Trump is and what a dictator he is. While the other half of the world is like celebrating peace in the Middle East. a biblical moment. What a stark contrast. How do they not see it? How could they protest somebody who does something great and then celebrate people who harm them? Like Obama and Biden and just bad policies, like the British government is doing right now to its citizens. So we've actually got people who would condemn those who would help them and do help them and celebrate those who abuse them. That's how powerful this idea of, being part of the group is. Fascinating. Okay, I've gone on for a long time, right? Like I didn't want to start, okay? But then I started and now I can't, it's hard to stop. So let me know what you think about all these things. As I said, I really do want to start turning this stuff around. I'm worried about MGTOW becoming, just a kind of anger situation for the men who, are having a hard time getting laid and shit like that. And, I don't want that to happen. I want this to be a movement of masculine reawakening. And I think that the men starting to, do a little meditating, bringing a little calmness and peace back into their life on a daily basis, I think it'll go a long way towards reestablishing that, because I think that the gynocentric feminized media and institutions and all the people, that we interact with on a daily have undercut and undermined that exact thing. And I think that exact thing is one of the most fundamental aspects of being a strong and healthy man. He's consistent. You know what I mean? Like my father got up every day and did that hard work. And some of the times my mother was drunk and acted like, real shit. And he lost his temper, but he still stuck it out every day. And he didn't do it out of like weakness or capitulation or like, oh, I don't have a choice. No, he did it because he knew that someday his son would recognize it and would need that lesson. Okay. A lot of the things that the strong men do for us, it's not to teach us right now. It's to teach us in 10 or 20 years from now when we go to jail, when we get falsely accused, when the world turns its back on us. And then we say, I remember how my father was in these types of times. He didn't complain. He didn't flinch. He was strong. I want to be like that too. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to do also. That's why I say, you don't treat yourself the way you think the world, don't